Hi, my name is Erica Asimwe.
And I'm Richard Taylor.
And welcome to the Crossing the Raging River podcast. Richard, what's this podcast about?
Well, this podcast is something I'm so excited about, Erica, because it's about helping leaders who have a vision to make a difference, but face challenges in doing that, to be able to cross their own raging river in leadership.
Isn't our world full of so much chaos?
Oh my goodness. I mean, even just the last few weeks in the news, if you're reading it, it brings such levels of anxiety.
I know. There's so many things happening around us. We have issues of climate change. We have changes that are being brought on us by AI. While we are embracing AI, it's also causing a lot of changes, and we need to adapt to those changes. But there are also different challenges like conflicts, especially in this region in East Africa. I know firsthand that I was affected by some of these challenges around conflict because when I was very young, my parents had to flee Burundi and we moved to Zambia because of the political crisis that was happening there due to ethnic disagreements among people. And I know firsthand what it means to be affected by bad leadership choices.
Yeah, there are so many leaders like your story in this region that face those kinds of challenges. And we know that's also other parts of Africa and even in the world, there are leaders who face those challenges. You want to make a difference, but there are so many things that are happening in the world that it's easy to just give up.
I know. And it all comes down to leadership because all these choices are being made by people and those choices might affect people in a good way or in a bad way. And that's why I'm excited about this podcast, to see how we can explore how we as leaders can make better choices that benefit many people that God has given us to lead. So before we go ahead, I'm sure people are wondering, why the Crossing the Raging River podcast?
Yeah, the Crossing the Raging River podcast. I think after 20 years of working in East Africa, working with lots of leaders who face different challenges, but also leaders who have overcome them. You know, I've seen leaders who have an abundant mentality, who have a heart to serve their communities, who have really made a huge difference in the lives of people against all odds. And that's been incredibly inspiring. And I've learned over time that leadership is not just a nice to have thing.
Yeah.
You know, something you get to after you've taken care of other needs, because so often the quality of leadership, especially in countries or local communities, actually determines people's lives.
Yeah.
It impacts people's lives in a dramatic way. So actually, I feel like leadership is a must-have.
It is.
That if you don't pay attention to developing your own leadership and the leadership of others in your circle of influence, that you end up doing that at your own peril. And so our heartbeat in Crossing the Raging River podcast is to help leaders to work on the beliefs, the mindsets, the different things that they face in leadership, and also to give tools to leaders that they can use to cross their own raging river. That's what I'm so excited about, Erica.
I'm looking forward to spending the next few episodes with the people exploring those ideas. But we want to understand why you chose the words crossing the raging river. I hear the word river, raging. There are so many things that I'm hearing. What about that?
Crossing the raging river, yes. Well, Erica, before I get into that, let's first test some of your knowledge of geography. Were you very good at geography when you were in secondary school?
It's one of the only subjects I passed.
It was one of the only subjects you passed?
I was not good in sciences, but I remember I did well in geography.
Okay, so we're on a good subject for you.
Yes.
So let's really see then over a period of time if you really remember what you studied when you were in secondary.
I hope I do.
I hope you do too. So here's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you 20 seconds.
Yes.
And also, those of you who are listening, you can also try this. And I'm going to give you 20 seconds to name as many African rivers as you can name. Do you accept the challenge?
I do, but if I include a lake or two, I think they're going to forgive me. It's all water bodies.
Okay, let's try for rivers then. All right, when I say go, you have 20 seconds.
Okay, let me go.
Ready?
Ready.
Set, go.
Zambezi River, Limpopo, Orange River, Nile River, Blue Nile, White Nile, Niger,
Now you're using a lot of Niles.
Yeah, they're all rivers. Niger River.
You have 5
There's
seconds.
a river in Rwanda. Rusizi. Did I mention?
Ruzizi, yeah.
Yes, and
You got 9.
Kafiwe.
Okay, I'm not including Kafiwe because that came after the 20 seconds. 9 rivers in 20 seconds?
Not
That's
bad.
okay. Those of you who are listening, maybe you did better than that.
Yeah,
But then
yeah.
you can send us some more ideas of different rivers. So we have many rivers in Africa.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, we do.
And actually, the truth is there's a lot of resources as well. Oftentimes, one of the things I know what really bothers you, Erica, is that people often categorize or think of African communities or countries as if they're poor, that they have no
Yeah.
resources. Do you
Yes.
think that's really true?
No. No, there's so many resources, natural resources we have here that we have not exploited. So many. Yeah.
Even the Congo River alone, if we were to harness the electricity, some people have said that could power the entire continent with electricity.
Yes, definitely.
So we have very powerful rivers in this context. And by the way, you did quite well. Maybe next time you'll do even better when we do that test.
I'm going to study before I come. Yeah.
When we think about leadership, we often think about that leadership, especially when you're leading other people and you're trying to lead yourself well in the midst of challenging circumstances. The analogy is it's like crossing a raging river. So I've been to the source of the Nile River, for example.
Where is the source?
Well, okay, it's a debate, but let's say if you're
I've also been to the source.
if you're Ugandan,
Yes.
the source is at the confluence of Lake Victoria, the mighty Lake Victoria, and as the Nile River that flows north, okay?
We also have a source in Burundi, so
Fine. But the podcast is not about debating that. So when we think about it, imagine that you're standing on the banks
Yes.
of the mighty Nile River, okay? Which and as you're doing, it's so big that even looking across to the other side at certain times can be difficult. And now you have the task of not only getting across that river, where in a place where there's no bridge and the rapids are flowing, but also to bring the people that you lead across the river, and you realize half of them don't even know how to swim. Then you look into the river and you see that there are hippos, there are crocodiles, there are sharks that are there.
yeah,
That's difficult, huh?
it is.
And yet most people, they want to get to the other side because getting to the other side represents a vision of getting to a better place. Moving from a place of scarcity, of where you are today, to a better place, a place of abundance in your community, in your country, and even within the continent.
So what you are saying is that leaders start from a place. They start from a place. They have a journey they are trying to go to, and they start from this place where they feel incapable. They don't have all the resources they need, but they need to get people across this raging river, and it's not easy to go across that raging river because there are different challenges they face on the way. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to say, Erica. And so I think in this podcast, as we move forward in different episodes, we'll really be helping to provide helpful things for leaders in terms of ways that they can help safely cross that raging river and realize their vision.
So what are some of these challenges that a leader can face in this raging river?
I mean, there are many. You can also name some as well. I think
Yeah.
in another episode we'll go in deeper. But there are beliefs and mindset challenges. Things like how leaders use power and whether they use it well or whether they abuse it. There are issues around fatalism, and just at a certain point, I was talking with a young man today who was talking about his home country where young people aren't getting jobs, and even when they go to university, they're finding they can't move forward, and then they just kind of resign themselves, saying, "Is it even worth it to work hard to get across?" Issues around fear, where maybe in the political environment and the places where we are, we fear things. We're afraid of taking risks, or maybe we have a vision, but we don't do well to organize it. There are many things that can cause those challenges to cross.
Yeah, and I hope there are ways to overcome them too, because I'm sure we're going to be exploring those challenges, but I'm sure people are looking forward to also hearing more about how they can overcome those challenges and get to the other side. I know we usually talk about getting from a place of scarcity to a place of abundance. So I'm really looking forward to hearing how we can do that. I'm sure many of our listeners will also be wanting to know what to do about these challenges.
You know, Erica, one of the encouraging things is that as you and I have worked with hundreds of leaders, not only from where we're broadcasting here in Kigali, Rwanda, but also across the continent. In fact, we recently had 16 leaders from 16 countries who are gathering together. It gives encouragement.
Yeah.
Because you see how many leaders against all odds are using principles of abundant leadership, are finding ways to actually realize their vision, make a difference in people's lives. I was talking with a leader the other day who's working in South Sudan.
Yes.
And this is a young leader in his early 30s. He's full of passion for his country. It's one of the youngest countries in Africa, but it's also full of challenges.
Yeah.
And he was describing some of those challenges to me. Even last week, his brother passed away. With the recent cuts in aid that are coming, the organizations that he's working with, people are losing their jobs. And yet he's been applying these abundant leadership principles. He's been teaching other leaders, and he's been seeing things in his own area of leadership start to move forward in a significant way.
So there is hope, because we've seen people practice this. I know I'm one of the people who has been able to practice some of these things. And I'll be excited to share some of the stories of how we've gone about overcoming the challenges in the raging river, and also sharing some of the stories of the leaders like the ones you've shared, who are doing things in their communities regardless of the challenges, who are not sitting back and saying, you know, this is just how things are and this is how things will always be, but are actually taking steps to say, how can we do things differently by crossing this raging river and letting people know that it's possible to do it.
So you mean we can even cross and we can actually avoid those crocodiles and hippos and snakes?
We can. It's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy. Sometimes you get eaten, I must say. Sometimes you get eaten and swallowed if you're not drowning. But lucky enough, we have this network of other leaders that we can call upon who can also walk this journey with us. So we don't do it on our own. And I'm very excited that we're here sitting as leaders who can also share some of those experiences. Yeah.
Erica, as you think about your own journey,
yeah,
you know, as your own crossing of this raging river in leadership, there are many different things that you've already worked on and things that you've tried. I know there's an organization that you lead called Love in Hands, for example.
Yeah.
Can you tell us maybe just one story about how this abundant approach to leadership that we talk about in our organization, Kurumbuka, has really helped you to cross that raging river?
I think one of the biggest challenges I faced as a young leader, passionate, I think all of us when we are starting from the other side of the river, we have a big passion for what we are doing. We want to change the world. We actually don't know how to go about it, but we have good intentions. I always say we start from good intentions. So I had a great passion to change lives of children in my community, and I felt overwhelmed by all the challenges they were facing. And I felt like I needed to be the center of providing those solutions. I felt like if a child did not eat today, I should get food from my house and give them food. I should provide health insurance. And
so you were trying to do everything.
Everything for them.
Like be Superwoman.
So, yes,
you know,
exactly.
Like the superheroes we see in the Marvel comics, only in the community.
Exactly. And one of the biggest things I have learned about how to overcome that challenge is gathering people around you. First of all, the people that you are trying to help, quote unquote, already have something they can also provide. So we will talk about that in details later. But also a team. Your team is capable. Being able to rally people and empower them so that collectively you can provide a solution and it's not just about you. So that's one way in which you can overcome this challenge and cross the raging river.
That's very inspiring, Erica.
Yeah.
So I mean, what I'm hearing you saying is that this kind of, there are approaches that we can use that are abundant by looking for solutions from within.
Yes.
By actually finding ways to utilize the gifts and the abilities of the people that we work with to serve. So we're not trying to cross the raging river alone.
Yeah.
We're actually trying to do it with other people. We're creating a shared vision with other people.
Exactly.
we're finding ways to utilize the gifts and abilities that everyone has.
So when you're drowning, someone can pull you out and someone can fight the crocodile with you. You don't have to do it on your own.
That's right. And I think that's some of our heart for this podcast as well, is just to be able to convey to those of you who are listening, especially those of you who might be feeling lonely or isolated, or you're not sure if you can continue in this vision that you have. You're not alone. There are other leaders who have faced similar circumstances, and there are leaders who have been resourceful in finding ways to actually overcome those similar kinds of challenges.
So I hope people are excited to listen to this podcast and to share it widely, because we have so much to share with you.
I'm excited. I know that. And our organization that we work within it's called Kurumbuka.
Yes.
And what does that mean?
So Kurumbuka is a Kinyarwanda word that is used in an agricultural context.
Okay, yes.
Yes, so I'm sure people are wondering why choose an agricultural word, because it represents so much for us. We want to see leaders not just be the only people at the center of their work, but also multiply what they're learning by creating more leaders around them. So Kurumbuka means multiplication in the agricultural senses. When you have a lot of harvest.
Yes.
And even when someone has given birth in Rwanda, they use the word Kurumbuka. They congratulate you, because it's a way of giving birth to many, many things. New visions, new leaders, new different.
And so leaders that are truly abundant in their thinking are leaders who are about multiplication.
Exactly. And it's not just about them.
It just reminds me, as we close the podcast today, it just reminds me about both you and I were Christians. We gain so much strength from our faith in Jesus Christ, especially during challenging times. And I'm just so reminded of what Jesus was about.
Yes.
The fact that we look at today how Christianity has spread throughout the world, but it started with him and just a few disciples.
Yeah.
And he was facing his own raging river, of course, the environment that he was working within, the Romans who were ruling at that time, and then on top of that mandate that he was going to go to suffer and die on a cross and to be raised again. But it's amazing to me to see how that gospel spread from those early days, and you and I both take a lot of encouragement from that as well.
Yes, Jesus made disciples, and that's why we are here today, and that's what Kurumbuka is about. And we hope that through this podcast you can also do the same, multiply what you are learning from here with other leaders, so that they too can become abundant leaders. So if you've been challenged by this podcast today and you would like to learn more about us, you can go to our website at kurumbuka.org/podcast, so that you can access more podcasts and more resources that we have there for you. Thank you for joining us today. We're looking forward to having you join in the next episode as well. Thank you.
Let's cross that raging river.